Hello and a very good morning to all of you and welcome to Daily Current Affairs. My name is Kumar Pratik and I welcome you all to GradeUp platform, India's largest online learning platform, and this is Daily Current Affairs. I take Daily Current Affairs every morning at 9 a.m. from Tuesday to Saturday. So I will urge you guys to be present at every morning 9 a.m. from Tuesday to Saturday for Daily Current Affairs on GradeUp IAS YouTube channel. Now without wasting any more time, let's start with Daily Current Affairs for today. The first topic for today is Catchall Island. Recently, Indian Coast Guard towed a fuel tanker back to safe waters, which was dangerously drifting towards a pristine Catchall Island in Nicobar Island range due to power failure. Now, you can see where the Catchall Island is. So, from the Nicobar Island, from Catchall Island, away from Catchall Island, this tanker was taken away. Now, Catchall Island is one of the Nicobar Islands in India, which was previously known as the Hanyu Islands. Catchall Island is inhabited by Nicobarese tribe and migrated Tamilians for rubber plantation workers under Sastri Simau Bandharanake Pact in 1964. Due to the remote location and lack of exposure with the rest of the world, outsiders economically exploited the innocent islanders for the long time. To stop their economic exploitation, Government of India has declared the Nicobar Islands an Aboriginal Tribal Reserve Area on 2nd April 1957. This made the Nicobar Island inaccessible to outsiders, and currently even Indian nationals need special tribal pass to visit these islands. Only government servants that are outsiders posted in Catchall Island are allowed to stay on these islands. So what is the historical importance of this island? According to recent history, an archaeological inscription dating 1059 AD says that Nicobar was a part of overseas kingdom of Tamil Chola king of Tanjore. So it has an ancient history. So this is GS paper 1. It is geography. The source is the Hindu newspaper. Moving on to the second topic. China's negative yield bonds. Last week, China sold its negative yield debt for first time, and this saw high demand from investors across Europe. So what are these negative yield bonds? Bonds, as you know, are debt instruments. So these are debt instruments that offer to pay the investor a maturity amount lower than the purchase price of the bond. These are generally issued by central bank or governments, and investors pay interest to the borrower to keep their money with them. So why do investors buy such a thing, which are negative yield? Negative yield bond attract investment during the times of stress and uncertainty, as investors look to protect their capital from significant erosion, so that their capital, their money is safe. So they invest in such instruments which are safer. At a time when world is battling COVID-19 pandemic, as we all are, and the interest rate in the developed world across the Europe are much lower, investors are looking for relatively better yielding debt instrument to safeguard their interest, their money, their capital. Moving on, why is there a huge demand for these negative debt instruments? The fact is that 10-year to 15-year bonds are offering positive return. It is a big attraction at the time when interest rates in Europe have dropped significantly, as against minus 0.15 yield on 5-year bond issued by China. The yield offered by safe European bonds are much lower, which is 0.5% or 0.75%. So this is a better investment option because it is offering them better return. Also, it is important to note that while the majority of large economies are facing contraction in GDP during the financial year 2020 and 21, it is only China is the one country which is seeing a positive growth in these challenging COVID time and has seen expansion of GDP to 4.9% in the third quarter of 2020. Because only China is growing, so the return on their investment will be higher in Chinese bonds. So that is why the investment is increasing in these negative yield bonds. This is GS paper 3, economics, the sources, Indian Express. Next topic for today is Atal Faculty Development Program. Union Education Minister had recently launched 46 online AICTE training and learning academies, which are Atal Academies, for faculty development program to train teachers of higher education institutions and associated institutions with All India Council of Technical Education in emerging areas of technology. So 46 such academies have been opened under the Atal Faculty Development Program of AICTC. Now, what is Atal Faculty Development Program? This faculty development program will be conducted across 22 Indian states. The online faculty development program will be conducted according to the new education policy which has been launched recently. The main objective of these Atal Academies is to provide quality technical education in the country, and it is to promote research and entrepreneurship through training in various emerging fields in technology sector. IITs, IIITs, NITs, central universities, research labs are organizing these Atal faculty development programs. These programs will help Indian students get acquainted with new technological developments and choose it as a career. Now, the important point to note here is that the Atal Academies to be included in Book of World Records. The London-based organization has recognized this faculty development program as a world record, under which 1,000 online faculty development programs in 100 plus emerging areas will benefit more than 1 lakh faculty members across premier institutions like IITs, NITs, IIITs, Central University and other such institutions. This year, the online faculty development program will cost 10 crore rupees. This is GS paper 3, Education, the sources, Press Information Bureau. The next topic for today is National Crisis Management Committee. Union Cabinet Minister Rajiv Gauba chaired a meeting of National Crisis Management Committee to review the status of impending cyclone through video conferencing with the Chief Secretaries of Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. What is this National Crisis Management Committee, you will ask? It is a national level committee. So, Cabinet Committee on Securities and National Crisis Management Committee are the key committees involved in top decision making body with respect to disaster and disaster management. A National Crisis Management Committee has been constituted with the Cabinet Secretariat. It deals with major crises which have serious and national ramifications. So, any disaster such as cyclone, earthquake, floods have national ramification. So, this National Crisis Management Committee is being given responsibility of dealing with it. Now, what are its key functions? The key function is they oversee the command, control and coordination of disaster response. When a disaster is happening, a response to it is needed. The responsibility of responding to it, commanding over it, controlling over it and coordinating over it is the responsibility of this committee. It provides direction to crisis management group as deemed necessary. Who are the members? Cabinet Secretary of India is the chairperson of this committee. Secretaries of ministries and departments and agencies which are involved in this disaster management process are part of this committee. Now, as you know, what is this? Currently, today, cyclone Nivar is expected to make landfall between Mallapuram and Karayakal on Wednesday, that is today. So, it is Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh are basically bracing for this cyclone. So, what are the do's and don'ts? So, do's and don'ts of this disaster managements are: before cyclones, what are people supposed to do? Ignore rumors, do not panic. Keep their phones charged, use SMSs. Keep tabs on weather updates. Keep documents and valuable in waterproof containers. Prepare emergency kit with essential items. Untie cattle and animal to ensure their safety. This is what they're supposed to do generally during a cyclone. And in recent past, very severe cyclone storm have been witnessed in India. In 2011, there was Thane cyclone. In 2012, there was Neelam cyclone. So, what is this cyclone Nivar? The Bay of Bengal will see a second severe cyclone of the year called cyclone Nivar after the super cyclone Amphan, which formed during May 2020. It is likely to hit the Tamil Nadu coast by Wednesday. After cyclone Gaja in 2018, this will be the second cyclone to cross Tamil Nadu in past 2 years. So this is GS paper 3, disaster management, and the source is the Hindu newspaper. Now the next topic for today is amnesty scheme on exotic birds and animals. Supreme Court has recently upheld the Allahabad High Court order which said no one can be prosecuted upon declaration of accusation or possession of exotic wildlife species between June to December under the center amnesty scheme because of COVID crisis. Now about this amnesty scheme, the government's amnesty scheme is aimed at developing an inventory of exotic life species within India, regulating their imports, maintaining their stock of imported exotic live species. It also aims to maintain statutory record of stocks change in stock due to any death, transfer within India, acquisition from further stock. The declaring of exotic species should not act on the basis of any apprehension such as seizure, summon, confiscation, inquiry in relation to such declared exotic species in domestic possession, neither under the Custom Act 1962 nor under any other law. So this amnesty scheme is there because government really wants to know how many exotic live species are present in India in domesticated form. Now, what are the other related scheme? There is voluntary disclosure scheme. Central government, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change through Wildlife Division has already introduced a voluntary disclosure scheme in the wider public interest by announcing immunity for limited window of 6 months to promote and invite voluntary disclosure declaration for all concerned. The scheme so introduced by central government shall be promoted by all departments for wider public interest. Not just the forest department, other department will also publicize this scheme. The voluntary disclosure scheme aims at streamlining the process of import and possession of exotic life species in India by way of registration and creating a database at state as well as at central level. Now, what is the need for amnesty scheme on exotic birds and animals? The government had come out with the amnesty scheme in direction to regulate possession and trade of exotic species animal, which had been kept out of the ambit of Wildlife Protection Act. So the basic aim here is to regulate possession and trade of exotic species. This is GS paper 3, Environment. The source is the Hindu newspaper. The next topic for today is Unified Mobile Application for New Age Governance, Umang app. To mark the occasion of 3 years of Umang app, Union Minister for IT launched Umang's international version in coordination with Ministry of External Affairs for select countries that include US, UK, Canada, Australia, UAE, Netherlands, Singapore, Australia and New Zealand. So this is the Umang app. What are the benefits of this Umang International app? It will help Indian international students, NRIs, Indian tourists abroad to avail government services anytime. It will also help in taking India to world through Indian Cultural Service available on Umang and create interest among foreign tourists to visit India. What is the other information you need to know about? Umang mobile app, which is Unified Mobile Application for New Age Governance, is the Government of India all-in-one single multilingual, multi-service mobile app providing access to high-impact services of various Government of India departments and state governments. It is a part of Digital India initiative of Ministry of Electronics and IT launched in 2017. What are the features? It provides for seamless integration with popular customer-centric service like Aadhaar and DigiLocker. It provides a unified approach where one can install one application to avail multiple government services. So it is an effort towards e-governance. It can be accessed on multiple channels like mobile application, web, SMS, which can be accessed through smartphone, tablets and desktops. It has a rich multimedia interface with focus on maximum usability, maximizing usability and enriching users' experience. Now, what are the services provided by this application? This unified application can be used to get pan-India e-government services such as filing. You can file your income tax, you can access your employee provident fund organization services, you can access Aadhaar, you can access pension, you can do e-education, e-Pathshala, e-land records, crop insurance, all that can be accessed through Umang app. It is an e-governance initiative on the part of Government of India. This is GS paper 2. The topic is from governance. The source is Press Information Bureau. Moving on. Exercise Simbax 20. Indian Navy is scheduled to host the 27th edition of India-Singapore bilateral maritime exercise called Simbax 20 in Andaman Sea. Simbax series of exercises have been conducted between the Indian Navy and the Republic of Singapore's Navy, conducted annually since 1994. It is aimed for enhancing mutual interoperability and imbibing best practices from each other. This Simbax series of exercise exemplifies the high level of coordination and convergence of views between India and Singapore, particularly when it comes to maritime domain, and towards enhancing overall maritime security in the region and highlight their commitment to a rule-based international order. The 2020 edition of Simbax will witness participation by Indian Navy ships including the destroyer Rana with integral Chetak helicopter and indigenously built corvettes Komarta and Karmuk. This is GS paper 3, Internal Security, Defense, and the source is the Hindu newspaper. The next topic for today is Chang'e 5 lunar mission. China's Chang'e 5 lunar mission will become the first probe in over 4 decades to bring back samples of lunar rock from moon, which is previously unexplored portion of the moon, that is dark side of the moon. Chang'e probe is the Chinese National Space Administration lunar samples return mission that is set to launch on 24th of November from Wenchang Space Launch Center in Henan Island in China. The mission comprises a lunar orbiter, a lander, an ascent probe that will lift the lunar sample back into orbit and return them back to the Earth. The probe is named after Chinese moon goddess, who is traditionally accompanied by white or jade rabbit. Now, this Chang'e 5 comprises of a robotic arm, a corning drill, a sample chamber, and is also equipped with camera, penetrating radar and spectrometer. The spacecraft is set to return to Earth around December 15th. The significance of the lunar sample is the first sample of rocks from moons were collected in Apollo 11 mission. In a document from 1984, NASA noted that the lunar sample can help unravel some of the important questions in lunar science and astronomy, including what is the age of moon, the formation of moon, similarity and differences between Earth and moon, moon geologic features, history of moon. Moon can also give scientists information about solar system itself. So these are some of the information which people are trying to collect from these samples. Now, what are the previous Chinese mission? In early 2019, China had launched Chang'e 4 probe, successfully transmitted information from the far side, which is the dark side of the moon. In 1970, Soviet Union's Luna 16 probe returned sample weighing 101 gram and taken from Mare Fecunditas area of the moon. This was followed by Luna 16 probe that returned 55 grams of soil from Apollonius Highland region. Now, both these probes collected their soil samples from 10 centimeter below the lunar surface. In 1976, Luna 24 collected sample weighing 170 gram from 2 meter depth into the lunar soil. So, this is a continuing mission. Russia had done it, US had done it, now China is doing it. This is GS paper 3, Science and Technology. The source is the Hindu newspaper. This was the end of today's daily current affairs. Now, before I end, we have launched Grade Up Super subscription plan to help in your IAS preparation. Grade Up Super is bringing to you IAS 2021, a comprehensive course for GS prelims cum mains. This course will be available to you guys both in English as well as in Hindi medium. Under this course, you will get 350 plus live GS classes for prelims and mains, 325 plus PDFs and 5000 plus practice questions. You will get additional classes on Yojana, India Yearbook, Kurukshetra magazine and additional classes on CSAT as well. Under this course, you will get 30 plus mock tests for prelims, 12 mains GS tests and 2 essay tests plus 7 previous year paper tests. So, under this Grade Up Super, you will get 11 plus structured live courses, 60 plus mock tests for UPSC, CSC and EPFO examination. We are currently running comprehensive course on GS Prelims cum Mains 2021, UPSC, EPFO a comprehensive course for prelims, a complete NCERT module for civil services examination we are also running for you guys. Now, you will be taught by our expert faculties like Naman sir, who is an economic expert faculties, Vasu Katara sir, who is ethics and internal security expert, B Teja Sai sir, who is science and technology expert, Himani Suri ma'am, who is NCERT expert, Shailen Singh sir, who is NCERT expert, Rohan Tyagi sir, he is geography and ecology expert. Then there is Harshmeet sir, who is polity expert, and then there is me. I teach economy and current affairs on GradeUp platform. Apart from this, I want to tell you guys that we have 3 plans under GradeUp Super subscription. There is a 6-month plan which will cost you 15,000. Effective price per month will be 2,500 rupees. There is 12-month plan. Per month it will cost you 1,800, but the total cost is 21,600. For 24-month plan, it will cost you 27,000 rupees. So it is not that heavy on your pockets, and it will help you prepare better for your UPSC Civil Services exam. Now, we are conducting daily free classes on our GradeUp app as well. We are conducting daily editorial analysis at 12 p.m. UPSC EPFO related classes at 5 p.m. Special 5 lecture series at 7 p.m. GS for IAS IS 2021 Ranker series at 8 p.m. and daily current affairs on our GradeUp app is conducted at every day at 9 p.m. Apart from this, on our GradeUp IS YouTube channel, we are conducting many other free classes for you, like every day 9 a.m. in the morning I am present taking up daily current affairs on our channel GradeUp IS UPSC channel. So I will urge you guys to subscribe, like and share our channel so that we can reach to much more students. With this, I take your leave. I'll see you guys tomorrow again. Till then, thank you very much and bye-bye.